Hi guys, it's Forgetful Scholar, and this week we are not talking about books. We're gonna do a book tag because adulting can get in the way of things and it's sometimes hard, and sometimes I'm just not very good at it. So here we go. So this original tag is from Brandy Reads, and she did things only readers can identify with. And I hope she doesn't mind that I kind of paraphrased or turned to questions some of the things she talked about. It was just such a cute, thing that I couldn't help but, want to do it myself. And Brandy Reads is amazing. Go see her. She's a lot of fun. So, first question. Do you agonize over what to read next? Do you ever think so many books, so little time? Or do you think you die before you finish your TBR? I do agonize over what to read next. I think, but not as much as I've seen other people do. I think the good thing about being a mood reader is oh, I'm in the mood for this. Oh, I'm in the mood for that. If I didn't have that kind of direction to go in, I think it would be a lot worse. I don't think about dying before I finish my TBR shelf. I've seen that around. I think I even have a sticker of it. It's really cute. I got it from Etsy. It's like a little Grim Reaper. And anyway, I think it's funny. Because I think once you're dead, I think there'll be more things that I would regret than that. But I do try to read my TBR. So maybe that's the underlying force, me trying to read it. I don't know. I don't really think about dying before finishing the TBR shelf personally. Sometimes I do feel overwhelmed, there's so many books I want to read. I do enjoy historical romance, and I find finding good historical romance writers, I feel like that pool is shrinking. Or is it just me? Maybe it's just me. Maybe the internet algorithms just showing me the same kind of authors. I don't know. But I do hop into Amazon and just put historical romance novels just to see if there's something new coming out, something interesting, maybe from a new writer, things like that. I don't necessarily buy from them unless it's an indie and that's the only place I could get them. I tend to write it down and then go look for it elsewhere. But I don't know, so far, right now, nothing new in the historical romance genre is exciting to me. I don't know. I haven't really found anything that I'm really itching to read. I do think about how there's so many books out there and there's just not possible to read them all. And I think that's just something I came to grips with. There's no way. There's no way. It's impossible to read all about all these stories, all these little universes the authors created. It's not possible. So I try not to think about it. Denial is a powerful thing, my friends. So, do you read more than one book at a time? If so, how many books have you read at one time? Okay. So, there have been in the past where I read more than one book at once. They don't tend to be the same genre, so they don't confuse me, because I know sometimes oh, doesn't that confuse me? If I'm reading a historical romance by one author, I'm not going to read another historical romance by the same author, I might read both historical romances, but by different authors, or one historical romance and then one, because you guys know I like romance mystery books too. And sometimes I just like cozy mysteries. So if I do read a book, more than one book at once, I'll, try to do a different genre. But if I'm grabbing a different book when I'm not finished with another one, that's not a good sign. Because usually when I like a book, I like a book. There's no middle ground with me, really, when it comes to reading. So if I'm reading more than one book at once, it means the first book kind of bores me and I'm just forcing myself to read it for whatever reason. Maybe because I really like the author. Because there's been some Lisa Kleypas that I'm oh man, I want to stop reading this. But I've read enough of her to know if you get sometimes the books I didn't like about her from her, once I got to the middle part, I really started liking them. So sometimes the writers, if you read enough about them, enough of their books, you get how their writing style is. And sometimes writers, they don't interest me. until the middle of the book, and then I'm really interested. So if I'm picking up another book, it's not a good sign. I'm not enjoying myself with the first book, and I'm forcing myself to read it for whatever reason. Maybe someone really wants me to do a video on it. Maybe it was a gift. Maybe I really like the writer and I'm trying to give them grace. You know, things like that. So I don't tend to read more than one book at once. If I'm reading one book at once, it's not a good sign, because usually when I really like a book, like I need to finish it, you know? So choosing which book to pack is harder than choosing outfits. Do you end up with a heavy suitcase? So when I travel, I like to pack light, especially if I'm going somewhere where there's a laundry service or someone's house where I know, you know, I could do laundry, things like that. Perfect. Because if I can, I want to stick everything in a carry-on suitcase and not worry about the luggage claim, possibly losing my my luggage at the airport, things like that, right? So what I do is I take one paperback book, and the rest is I fill up my Kindle. So my Kindle will probably be new books that I want to try out for the traveling, you know, I'm assuming after the day's activities, because vacation's not really like just sitting at the beach all day or the pool all day. There might be some days, but usually there's like activities with friends or family or whatever, right? So like unwinding after that. Ooh, sorry, I kicked the table. Oh, I'm sorry. So unwinding after a day like that, I'll use my Kindle, especially if I gotta like share up a room, because the Kindle doesn't need a light, you know what I mean? Now the paperback situation, I take one, and it's a book, it's a revisit, it's a reread, it's a book I know I like, because nothing pisses me off more. I'm such a weird person, but it really, really irks me if I bring a paperback to a vacation and I don't like it. It's fine if it's a Kindle book that I don't really jive with. That's fine. But a paperback, because that's like space my suitcase. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. I get really annoyed. I know, I'm a weird person. But the paperback is for lazy days by the pool, lazy days on the beach, because I am not getting sand in my Kindle, and I am not getting water on my Kindle. And I know it's a book I really love, so I know I'm going to enjoy myself. You know what I mean? I really am a strange person. Okay. Wishing you could stay at home and read instead of going to a social gathering. Sometimes. Because if I'm in a book, I'm in the book and I want to finish it. But I have to remind myself, the book's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And I do love hanging out with my friends. And we don't hang out all that much. And usually when we hang out, it's like playing D&D or Call of Cthulhu, which we're playing right now, and I have a blast. So if I ever get in that headspace, I just remind myself, no, you love your friends. It's going to be fun, and the book will still be here. Also, I do have chronic illness that causes chronic pain, and there's been times where I've canceled on my friends because I just couldn't move without pain. And without being bitchy because of the pain. I didn't want to, vomit my bad move all over them. You know what I mean? And, like, there is a fear when... I'm not the only one, which I was reassured to know that, like, if you cancel too much, they will stop inviting you. And I don't want that to ever happen. So I think my situation is a little different in that sense. Because I'm like, I'm not in pain. I'm just being a brat. You know, the moment you get there, you're going to have a good time. And I always do. So, character death. Sure, I've read a couple books where a character died. Does it affect me? I don't appreciate books that make you fall in love with a character just for them to die. Fuck you. Fuck you. There's been books I've read where the characters, some characters have already been dead and were ghosts, and I enjoyed them quite a bit. There have been books I've read where the bad guy dies. I love that. Like Six of Crows, when Mathis, spoiler alert, when Mathis dies, I'm like, but no, but he just got redeemed. You know, like he's no longer basically an allegory for Nazi youth. And I'm like, no, that sucked. I was so upset about that. I was like, no. So that bothers me. Shedding tears at the end of the book because it was just that beautiful. No. Has a book made me tear up, like in the middle or something like that because it was really touching? Sure. I'm not a big crier, and usually when I do cry, it's something like really sad. I mean, there has been times when my eyes like well up, but I have not like full out bawled. You know what I mean? Like well up, but no tear has escaped. Sure. Can I remember them off the top of my head? Nope. It's so bad. I have the worst memory. But I do know that sometimes I'm like, oh, this is sweet, oh my gosh. You know, like that. But cry now. Physically struggle to put down a book because of responsibilities. Yeah. So I tend to read at the end of my day, you know, when work is done, like housework is done as well. You know, and that's kind of a delicate balance because another question here is about like reading in bed and stuff like that. That could be a delicate balance with me, but I'll get to that with that question. I just remind myself the book is still there. It ain't going nowhere. And the person that interrupts you doesn't know that they're like interrupting like a really fun part, a really climactic part, or a really suspenseful part. Like they don't know that, right? And I try really, really hard not to be a bitch for no reason. If I'm gonna be a bitch, there should be a reason. But yeah, I try to be like, okay, it's no big deal. And also, like, family full of people, like full of me, you know? I get my personal life from my family, obviously. So, if I show that I'm annoyed at them, then, you know, there's going to be an argument back and forth. We're both going to get into it. Everyone's going to get into it. It's not worth it. I put the book down. I do what they ask me, you know, like help with what they need help with. And the book's there, you know? And it's faster just to be like, yeah, sure, honey, let's get this done. As opposed to like a huge argument with hurt feelings and all that stuff over a book that the book itself, time is not passing. I could go back to it. I say this now, but in the moment, I'm always like, fuck. But that's my internal voice. That's a secret. Keep the crazy hidden, you know? How sharing a book to someone is like sharing your heart. Do you take it personally if they hate your book recommendations? I think recommending a book can be a little like, oh no, I hope they, because I always like, oh, I really hope they like it. I really hope they like it. I really hope they like it. As I gotten older, because I'm like super old, if someone's asking for a good romance recommendation, I'm like, okay, I need more questions answered. Like, what do you like? Do you want contemporary? Do you want historical? Do you want sci-fi? Do you want alien, cowboy, pirate? Like what? What's your yum? You know what I mean? So like I have a friend of mine. We got into, I think I've told the story before. We got into it how I don't think Twilight is a romance book, and it's not. It's a YA book. And it has romance in it, and I wasn't a fan of it, but if you are, that's fine. You know, I'm not gonna yuck your yum or whatever. But I was like, it's not a romance novel, it's a YA novel. You know, we kind of got into it, and I was like, all right, how about you read one of my romance novels, one of my 5 stars, and then, you know, we'll come back to this. And they're like, okay. And I was like, okay, great. And I was like, contemporary, historical, sci-fi. And she's like, historical. I was like, okay. I was like, pirate, English lord, cowboy, you know, and she's like, cowboy. I was like, okay, perfect. So I picked one of my 5-star cowboys. She read it. she's like, oh, you're right. This was awesome. And I loaned her Angel, which is one of my favorite Johanna Lindsay books. And she's like, oh, you're right. Twilight isn't a romance novel. I was like, yeah. And she loved it, you know? And also, so like when I recently recommended the Wrath and Ruin series by Jordan L. Hawk to a friend of mine. And this friend, she plays Call of Cthulhu with me. She likes more of the not odd, but like she likes scary books. She likes monster books. She likes horror books. She hasn't really read romance, and she was kind of curious to go into romance. And I was like, okay. And I thought of Wrath and Ruin immediately. Also Winterborn and Griffin, but Winterborn and Griffin is 11 books. I thought that might be a lot right now. Wrath and Ruin's 3 books, and it's just kind of starting, so kind of started off like a little lighter on it. And I was like, okay, are you okay with boy love? And she's like, yeah, I don't care what, she's like me, she doesn't care what gender the romance is, as long as the romance is good, right? So I was like, okay, you know, and she loved it. So as I got older, I kind of learned to tailor my recommendations in person to what I think that person will like, and I ask questions, right? Because I do take it a little personally. I do, like, I've tried really hard not to, because, you know, people are different, but when someone doesn't like it, I'm like, oh, but I love it. How come you don't love it? So I've learned to be like, okay, she's more of a horror fan. Let's do this, you know? And she's more of like sweet romance fan. Okay, let me tailor it to that. So I think if you ask more questions about what they enjoy, then you could easily tailor it, because book giving and book recommendations is a very specific thing. Everybody likes their own stuff. You know what I mean? So ask questions and try not to take it personally, even though I still do a little, but I understand they're not trying to hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The answer to that question is yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you binge read book series like other people watch Netflix? Yes. I had to, because of the channel, I had to physically stop myself from not just binge reading all of the Wyborn and Griffin books at once. Because, you know, the channel, I tried to do different, you know, I'll say subgenres. Like, if I do one boy love paranormal Cthulhu-esque romance, I don't want to talk about the second book. I don't want it to be another boy love Cthulhu-esque romance. I want it to be like maybe a straight historical romance. Like, I try to, you know, differentiate a little bit. Or maybe I'll do a whole different genre altogether. So the channel's the only reason why I haven't done that. Because before the channel, I would binge read. If I like the series, I would binge read it all and as fast as I could get my hands on it. So that's what I would do. And Brandy, girl, me too. I love the older TV shows. Like Moonlight is a good show. I like Highlander still. I really still like Highlander. I'm recently binge watching Jag for fun. Well, it kind of reminds me of my dad a little bit, so that's probably why I've been missing him this holiday season. Also, I've been watching The Musketeers. It's originally from BBC, but it's on CW now. It's an older show, I think, from like 2016. I think that's the most recent show. That and Ghosts, I really find fun. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry. Back to the questions. Okay, do you get book hangovers? Not able to get into a new book because you love the one you just finished? And how do you get over it? Yes, there have been books where I finished and I'm like, I love it so much, I don't want to read another book. Sometimes I don't pick up another book for a couple days because, or even a whole week because I love that one so much. How do I get over it? I don't know, you know, just be in those feels for a little bit. Because sometimes books touch you or affect you in a different way that you didn't see coming. And sometimes you just need to let yourself be in that process and be like, oh, you know, it's so sad he died. Oh, I'm so happy they had such a happily after all the crap they had to go through. You know, so sometimes it's just, you gotta be it. Also, I read a lot of fan fiction. So sometimes when I'm in a book hangover, I kind of just play Sims or whatever, and then maybe a day or two read a quick little fan fiction that's fun, and then hop over to the new book. Not really exact science, doesn't work every time. Your idea of a dream house include your own personal library? Yes. It doesn't even have to be a big house. I just want one room dedicated to books. And my DVD collection, because I am old and I do have a DVD collection. Shut up. Because what if I'm in the mood to watch something and that streaming service decided not to have that up anymore? Huh? What about that? So I would love that. I love that. I always picture like a beautiful dark wood shelves covered this big room that has like blackout curtains so I could protect the books if I need to, with cozy chairs to just kind of curl up. I would love it. Do you have a shelf of books you need to read even when you're always reading? Yeah, TBR right there under the Zen elephant. I think everybody's got a TBR shelf. It never seems to go down. Probably because of the next question. Or, a question later on, that's why. Do you read in bed even when it can be uncomfortable? Yes. You know how many times I've knocked my nose into the Kindle? Or so many times. But, as I was saying before, sorry, allergies. As I was saying before, I have a delicate balance, right? Because I get chronic fatigue, and a lot of my medicines are fatiguing, but I also have issues with insomnia. So if I let myself doze during the day, I'd be lucky to get 3 or 4 hours of sleep that night, right? So it's kind of a balance. So I do read in bed, trying to get, a lot of times it's the only time I can read that day, you know? And, sometimes the book gets really good. And that's an issue too. Sometimes the book gets really good and it's boom, before I know it, it's 5 a.m. You know what I mean? And I gotta wake up 7:30. That does not change. I have responsibilities, you know what I mean? So that kind of, I'm So I try to put the book down no later than midnight so I could get, but again, it's such a weird, delicate balance with everything going on. So, yes, I read in bed, even though books have slapped me in the face, Kindles have knocked me in the nose. It happens. And I try, even if the book is so good, I try not to go past midnight because I'm going to hate myself in the morning if I do. Because, I got shit to do. You know what I mean? I can't just, I'm not like a spry 20-year-old that could go on 2 hours of sleep anymore. Do you have a large TBR at home, yet still buy new books? Yes, and this goes back to question number 12. That's why the TBR doesn't really go down, because even though I have that, I'm out and about, we stop at a bookstore, I'm like, ooh, this looks good, yoink. It's just what happens, man. I'm not gonna berate myself for it, because doing that, I have found some wonderful writers that authors that I would never have read otherwise. So I'm not gonna be too hard on myself for that. And I usually shop at secondhand bookstores and things like that. So they're not too pricey because I'm a bitch on a budget. You know what I'm saying? So do you tell people you want a book for birthday, holiday, gift, even if it is the last thing they would want? Yes, but again, like I said, unless I basically write out the title and the author and hand it to them, because books are really personal, right? I'm like, hey, a gift card's fine, and those Visa or MasterCard, whatever gift cards that you could use anywhere like a credit card. Perfect, because then I could go like secondhand stores and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm usually like, that's fine. But like, no, no, no. And if they're like, no, I want to get you something physical, I'm like, well, you know, I'm obsessed with bookmarks. Get me something cute, because I get really uncomfortable if someone spends too much money on me. You know what I mean? I'm like, $20 is fine. It's fine. Don't go over $20 because I'll feel weird. Okay? Okay. Let's see. Does the cover of the books really matter to you? Yes. What is this flower bullshit? It's bullshit. I don't like it. Knock it off. You could have like protective, you know, and the step backs, but romance novels have romance covers, okay? With like the models on the front in a loving embrace. That's how it's supposed to be. And like, just think of those basic marketing, you know what I mean? You want, as a, like, if you're a writer or a publisher, you want to market your books, right? And you want people to be intrigued by your books, right? So who's gonna pick up like a boring ass lily on a cover? Who gives a shit? I don't know what this fucking book, and the title of like, oh, Midnight Kiss with a lily in front of him. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that? What is that about? It could be like a romance novel or like a horror book. Ooh, that could be a fun, like, bait and switch. Anyway. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. But yes, covers matter quite a bit. We are aesthetic creatures. Humans are aesthetic creatures. We like colors. We like pictures. It's basic marketing. You know what I mean? Market to the people you want reading your books. Because I've seen really great books with really horrible covers that don't go anywhere. Probably because the marketing of the cover is like shit. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, they matter a lot to me. And like this, sorry, table, shaking all that. This drives me nuts. Like, this is not a flower, right? It's her back in a pretty dress. But like, this was what it originally was, right? And then for some reason, they reprinted it without it. Why? You could have had this over that. You know what I mean? We're all adults here. Like, why are you bitching out? Why are you bitching out? Huh? Why you be a bitch? Do you believe that the right book at the right time could change your life? Yes. And I've talked about this before. Reading, specifically romance books, have helped me through really dark, depressive moments in my life. So I think reading, and I think finding a book you love can help you in like your worst moment. I really do. I really do believe that. Because, you know, I'm here today because of that. You know what I'm saying? So, can you go one day without reading something? Books, fan fiction, something? No. No. And if you think about it, like, even like, I'm assuming textbooks, homework, you know, stuff like that, right? I don't think a lot of people, if you think about it, right? I don't think people go through the day without reading something. Whether it's like a manual or a rule or a text, like something, right? So no, I don't go a day without reading something. Not usually. I think yesterday was the first day I didn't in a long time, right? But that's because Steam had a sale and Spiral, the 3 games was on it for like $15 and I was like, fuck yeah. But even then, I was like reading the text and stuff like that. So I don't know. So not really. You know, even at night, like I read for like an hour afterwards. I forgot about that. So no, I read all the time. Again, during the day, it helps me fight off the fatigue. And at night, I try it helps me fall asleep. I know, my brain is weird. And that's just how it works. Okay, I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Oh, and Brandy, again, thank you so much for this tag. You know, go check her out. This was a lot of fun. And I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Bye.